December 2nd, 1984. The city of Bhopal was settling into a quiet Sunday night. A light winter chill hung in the air. Families were finishing dinner. Some people were returning from late shifts. Children were drifting to sleep. Street vendors were packing up their carts. It felt like any other ordinary night. No one knew that within hours, this city would become the site of one of the deadliest industrial disasters in human history. A factory in the middle of the city. On the outskirts of Bhopal stood a large pesticide plant owned by Union Carbide Corporation. The factory produced agricultural chemicals meant to protect crops. To manufacture these pesticides, the plant stored a highly toxic chemical known as methyl isocyanate, or MIC. MIC is extremely dangerous. When inhaled, it can burn the lungs, damage the eyes, and cause death within minutes at high concentrations. Inside the facility were large storage tanks holding tons of this chemical. Safety systems had been installed to prevent leaks. There were gas scrubbers, flare towers, cooling systems, and alarms. But over time, cost-cutting measures had reduced maintenance. Some systems were not fully operational. Others were partially shut down. That decision would prove catastrophic. The chain reaction. Late on the night of December 2nd, water somehow entered one of the storage tanks containing MIC. Water and mic react violently. Inside the tank, a chemical reaction began. The temperature started rising. Pressure began building. Workers on duty noticed unusual readings, but confusion and delay slowed their response. By the time they realized something was seriously wrong, the reaction was already out of control. At around 12:40 a.m. on December 3, 1984, a massive release of toxic gas escaped into the night sky. It was invisible, it was silent, but it was deadly. The gas moves through the city. The toxic cloud did not rise high into the atmosphere. Instead, it stayed close to the ground. It drifted slowly toward the densely populated neighborhoods surrounding the plant. The first people exposed felt a burning sensation in their eyes. Then came violent coughing, then breathlessness. People woke up gasping for air. Many ran outside, thinking fresh air would help. Instead, they ran directly into the poisonous cloud. Parents grabbed their children and tried to flee. Some collapsed in the streets. Others fell unconscious inside their homes. There was panic, screaming, chaos. No one understood what was happening. There were no clear warnings. No evacuation instructions, just confusion and fear. Hospitals overwhelmed. Within hours, hospitals across Bhopal were flooded with patients. Doctors and nurses had no information about what gas had leaked. They did not know the proper treatment. There was no emergency plan for something of this scale. Patients arrived with severely irritated eyes, foam coming from their mouths, chest pain, seizures, unconsciousness. Bodies began lining the corridors. Outside, the streets were filled with the dead and dying. Official estimates later reported around 3,000 deaths within the first few days, but long-term estimates suggest that between 15,000 and 20,000 people eventually died as a result of exposure. More than 500,000 people were affected. The morning after, when the sun rose, it revealed a horrifying scene. Animals lay dead in the streets. Entire families had perished together. Thousands of survivors were left with permanent injuries. Many could not see clearly. Many struggled to breathe. Children had lost their parents. Parents had lost their children. The scale of the disaster stunned the world. What went wrong? Investigations began almost immediately. Reports revealed multiple failures. The refrigeration system meant to keep MIC cool had been turned off. The gas scrubber was not operating at full capacity. The flare tower, designed to burn off toxic gases, was not functional. Safety standards had declined due to budget cuts. Critics argued that proper maintenance and stricter oversight could have prevented the tragedy. Questions were raised about corporate responsibility. Was this negligence? Was it avoidable? Legal battles and controversy. In the aftermath, Union Carbide Corporation faced lawsuits and international condemnation. In 1989, a settlement was reached between the company and the Indian government for $470 million. Many victims and activists argued that the compensation was far too small compared to the scale of suffering. The case became a symbol of the struggle for corporate accountability in developing countries. Even decades later, debates continue about justice and responsibility. Long-term consequences. The disaster did not end in 1984. Survivors continue to suffer from chronic respiratory illnesses, vision impairment, neurological disorders, reproductive health issues. Studies have reported higher rates of birth defects among children born in affected communities. Contamination from the abandoned factory site has remained a concern for years, with chemicals seeping into soil and groundwater. For many families, the trauma never truly ended. A city that remembers. Today, Bhopal is a living city once again. Markets are open. Traffic moves through busy streets. Life continues, but on the outskirts, the abandoned factory still stands. Rusting metal structures, broken windows, silent reminders of a night when everything changed. The name Bhopal became synonymous with industrial disaster, a warning to the world about what can happen when safety is compromised. The global impact. After the tragedy, countries around the world strengthened industrial safety laws. Emergency response systems were improved. Chemical storage regulations were tightened. But the lesson came at an unimaginable cost. The Bhopal Gas Tragedy remains one of the darkest chapters in industrial history, not because of a natural disaster, but because it was preventable, and because the people who suffered most were ordinary families living ordinary lives. Closing reflection. On the night of December 2nd, 1984, a city went to sleep unaware. By morning, thousands were gone. Hundreds of thousands were changed forever. It was not just a chemical leak. It was a failure of systems, a failure of responsibility, and a reminder that when safety is ignored, the consequences can echo for generations. The Bhopal Gas Tragedy is not just history. It is a warning,